Ike from Adrenaline Armory, and I'm here with this guy that I just saw on the street. He was kind of yelling at me about being in some band called Lords of the Trident or something like that, and that he's mad with power.
That's true.
So,
Ah! And I invited him down to this wonderful basement
and
where I plan to murder him eventually.
I'm very scared.
Oh, shoot, I didn't want to say that out loud.
But I do see that there's arcade games, so I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles if you like stab, and it'll be fine.
I'll die happy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you're in a band?
I'm in a band. I am in Lords of the Trident from Madison, Wisconsin. We are the most metal band on earth. And my name is Ty. That's my mortal alias. My real true name, obviously, is Fang von Rathenstein, lead singer of the most metal band on earth. And right now, since we're down 13 miles beneath the Earth's crust, I can kind of relax. I can take my armor off. I can just kind of, sit around in normal human clothes, and you don't have to worry about assassins trying to get me or anything like that. So
that's very good.
Yeah.
So how long have you been around?
Well, Lords have been around since the dawn of time, and we kind of took a 750-year hiatus after our 1342 tour, which was affectionately, or not so affectionately, known as the Black Plague Tour, because we had a really bad promoter at the time who said, he's like, "Hey, Fang, I got this idea for you." The promoters even back then had that voice. It's like, "Why don't you do a free rat with every ticket purchase, to a Lords of the Trident show?" And at the time, we thought it was a great idea because we didn't know anything about the plague or whatever. So anyway, bad press. We went underground for about 750 years. Came back in 2008, and so this year is going to be our 10th year back together as a band. So from 2008 to 2018, and we are releasing our 7th album this year, and we're really excited about it. So
7 albums. How have they progressed over the years? Are they all? Did you make some major changes from the very beginning to the end, or?
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten a lot better. We figured out a lot more about how to record properly, and just in general, the last couple albums, we've teamed up with a really great producer, really great mixing engineer, Doug Olson. He was the second mix. He was like the junior engineer under Butch Vig for Nirvana's Nevermind album.
Mm-hmm.
He's recorded Cheap Trick, Smashing Pumpkins, just all sorts of like bands that everybody's heard of, and he lives right here in Madison.
Awesome.
And so we hooked up with him for our EP Plan of Attack, and we just kind of hit it off. He's one of the only mixing engineers whose head hasn't caught on fire once they've started listening to the raw, sounds that we've been recording. So I mean, it's been really good.
So it'd be kind of hard to see the mixing board once their face melts off.
Oh yeah, and you got to like invest in like titanium plated mixing boards and all that sort of. I mean, like we've burnt so many microphones, you have no idea. But yeah, so I mean, like at first the first couple albums we recorded and mixed ourselves, and it was a lot of like learning about basically just learning about how to record properly, how to mix properly, and how to go about doing stuff in a very DIY kind of a way. And then as we progressed, as we played more, we met more people, we got more pointers, and we, hooked up with Doug, and now we've been just kind of working with Doug ever since. Now, we do still record all of our own material down here, and I do all the editing and all the recording down in our studio down here. But then when it comes time to, like, mix and master, we send it off to Doug for mixing and Dan Harjung for mastering. And he's worked with Megadeth and Robert Plant and just a lot of like really awesome, very well-known bands and artists. So he does a really fantastic job. They were the team collectively behind Plan of Attack and Frostburn, our last two kind of standard releases, I'd say. And people seem to really like that. And I'd say like this time around, the new album is sounding even better than Frostburn, which is just fantastic.
Yeah. So, kind of the beginning of you mentioned about over the years just learning how to record better. What would be like your number one tip to someone who wants to record, like how to make themselves sound better than an average garage band?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing I could say is that like learning the idea of garbage in, garbage out, like, and just kind of sticking to that. Like, if your tone sucks, you're not going to be able to find like a magic microphone that you can put in front of it to make it sound better. And if you're recording with like a $20 mic that you found at a Radio Shack garage sale, you're not going to be able to get a great solid recording. There's it's a hard one to unpack because there's a lot of aspects to stuff that I've learned over the years. But I think one of the first mistakes that I made, and one of the things that I would do differently if I had to go back and do the first album again, is approaching mixing instead of it in an additive way, in like a subtractive way. So like you have a stereo field where you got your low end over here and your high end over here, right? And so you're listening to a track, and the first instinct for most people, if they want to make a guitar sound better, is they like boost up some things, right? And that's what I did for the first album, and it works to an extent, but the better way to do it is, instead of boosting the stuff that you want to hear, is to cut the stuff that you don't, right? So instead of boosting the high end, you cut some of the low end, and it does the exact same thing, but it's a lot less like garbagey. There's a lot less frequencies in there that ultimately you just don't want. But it's 2018. Everybody's got the internet. Like, you can go on YouTube and learn anything from like some of the top mixing engineers, just about any subject of mixing. If you spend a couple weeks just watching videos, you can probably be like 10 times better than I was when I did the first album. So I mean, like, the world is everybody's oyster at this point. I mean, YouTube has opened up so many opportunities for people to just learn. And if you have a drive to do something, to learn something, there's nothing anybody can't do at this point. You just need a computer and some decent computer skills, and boom, you got it.
Cool. That's very good to know. So I heard you were just on a tour.
Yeah, we just got back from probably our most successful tour ever, and the guys seem to think it was their favorite. And we toured down to North Carolina and back. It was a short 4-day stint. We did Louisville, Kentucky, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, and then Cincinnati, Ohio. We did two CD releases on that tour. So first one was in Charlotte. We opened for a band called Nightmare, and they were releasing their latest album called Walk Through the Fire, I think. And that is, they're so good. They played Legions of Metal last year, the festival in Chicago. They're fantastic guys. And then in Cincinnati, we opened for Automaton, who's actually coming to Madison this next weekend. So a week from today. Today's the 31st, March 31st. On April 7th, they're coming to Madison, and we're going to be playing with them at the Frequency. And they're doing kind of a little CD release tour kind of a deal.
Nice.
So, and they had, that show in Cincinnati was amazing. We played in the basement of an abandoned church that they turned into a brewery, and the beer was just amazing. And there were like 300 people there. It was nuts. It was absolutely crazy. So we had quite a few beers, and then we found out at 1:30 in the morning, all kind of like half drunk, that just a few blocks away was like the original Skyline Chili from Cincinnati, Ohio, that opened up. And so we were like, yeah! And so we just, pillaged our way down to the Skyline Chili and like just destroyed, we probably ate 17 pounds of cheese. I don't know. It was nuts, man. It was crazy. So yeah, and we did over 2,000 miles with no breakdowns, which it's a new record for us, I think. Although we didn't have any breakdowns on our Colorado tour, but thanks to the support of our patrons on Patreon, we were able to about a year and a half ago purchase a new reliable, thank God, touring vehicle. Whereas before we had this giant 15-passenger red church van. And that thing sucked. That thing broke down probably every 200 miles or so. And it was I was having Stockholm syndrome with it, because it was okay, I've replaced everything. I've replaced the transmission. I've replaced the AC. I've replaced the timing belt. I've replaced it. It's eventually this thing is just going to run for, 10,000 miles and it's not going to need any repairs. And it just never came to that. You know, they kept finding one more thing to break on the damn van. So we finally kicked it to the curb. And thanks to Patreon, we're able to afford payments on a new touring vehicle, and not new, but newer than a 1994 Honda E350 or a Ford E350. I mean, so yeah, we've had really, really good luck with this new vehicle, and we found a really fantastic local mechanic who turned out to be big fans of the band. We didn't kind of know that. We just got recommended to them, and then we brought the new thing in. They're like, I see you have Trident on the license plate. You wouldn't happen to be in Lords of the Trident, would you? You look really familiar. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm the singer. He's like, oh my god, I've been watching the Trident cast. I'm so excited. Blah blah. So yeah, it was super duper. So they take really, really good care of us. Phoenix Foreign Auto in Madison, Wisconsin. If you're looking for a place to get your car repaired, holy crap, they are the best. They have got 5 stars on Google. They've got 48 reviews, 5 stars.
Nice,
perfect reviews. I've never seen that ever. It's crazy.
So if anybody goes there, just drop your name, right?
Drop my name. Say Lords of the Trident sent me. Fix my car, and they'll be like,
done.
My lords.
Right. So you are mad with power.
I am mad. I'm mad with power. That's another thing we've got. We've got a couple things related to Mad with Power. Mad with Power is our festival that we throw every year. It's an arcade game and power metal festival. So last year and this year it was at the Annex, the Red Zone in the Annex here in Madison, Wisconsin. And the general idea of what we do is we take and we line the whole place with free play arcade games.
Okay.
And then we have 6, 7, 8 power metal bands that play starting at 4 or 5 p.m. and we go all the way till bar time. So it's a great deal. I mean, it's $20 this year. You get to see 7 bands. It's our 10-year anniversary, and you get to play as many arcade games all night as you want. So for $20, I mean, that's pretty darn good.
So people can just show up and not really care about the music, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't care, man. $20 is $20. If you want to just come in and play arcade games and just look at the stage and go, that's fine, man. That's totally cool. Yeah. I'm down to that. But if you happen to also like quality music, then yes, I'd say
I hear people are drawn to the fire.
Oh yeah. Yep, that's another. Some venues were not really allowed to do fire, like the brewery. We couldn't do fire for obvious reasons. I mean, there's alcohol everywhere and open,
church burning down.
The whole church burning. That would be pretty metal. That would be pretty metal. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so I'm gonna shut this off. It's not a dang idea. So yeah, It's so I mean, come to Mad with Power. It's August 25th at the Red Zone. It's going to be just a blast this year. We have I pretty much handpick the bands every year, and we've got this year's going to blow the lid off of last year. Last year was fan-frickin-tastic. This year's amazing. We've got A Sound of Thunder from Washington, D.C. We've got Scythia from the west coast of Canada coming. Mega Colossus from North Carolina. Green Death, which is signed to the bassist for Megadeth's label from Des Moines. We've got Subatomic from Madison. And we've got Zephaniah, who's basically just Dragon Force Jr. From Fort Wayne. And I know I'm missing somebody. Go to madwithpowerfest.com. Check out the lineup. I'm probably missing somebody, and I apologize if I am. And us. And you see our big, dumb, stupid faces. Yep. The other thing with Mad with Power is we also have a mead called Mad with Power, which I'm going to grab it. It's right here.
It's awesome. I love it. It's my favorite mead.
We have
Boss Meadery.
We have a mead called Mad with Power. It's cranberry mead, and it's got my big dumb face on it. You can see right there, and the rest of the band's big dumb faces are all on that. And yeah, that's my favorite mead too. I might be a little biased, but
also the black pepper one. That one's really, really good.
So Boss Mead made us that mead specifically for the festival for Mad with Power.
Okay.
Last year, and we had it on tap at the fest, and that was kind of one of the things that, come and we've got this on tap, and we killed 2 kegs within 3 bands.
Wow.
And so it was gone, and so Colleen Boss, who runs boss meadery,
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Oh, people like this." I'm like, "Yeah." And so then she put it on tap at the meadery, and they did 8 kegs total, and they killed all the rest of the kegs in like 2 weeks. And she's like, "Oh, people really like this." I'm like, "Yeah." So she bottled it, and she did something like 25 cases of it. It's kind of like a small test run, and that sold out instantly, almost instantly. Like we were announcing, like, "Hey, Madness Power's at your local grocery store," and then like 2 hours later, "Hey, Madness Power's not at your local grocery store." Thanks, I guess.
Nice.
So
Very cool.
she's the next batch she's making is going to be gigantic.
Cool. So they're making the next batch right now? Or,
Yeah. They have to get enough. So they source pretty much everything locally. So they've got to get enough, like, cranberries and tamarind and black currants and stuff like that to make a ginormous batch. Whereas the amount that they had before was fine for, like, 8 kegs and 25 cases. But now they're looking at, like, it being a standard thing always on tap because it's just been so, phenomenal.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's great for us. It's great for them too.
To backtrack a little bit, one thing that I just thought about talking about.
Yeah.
You talked about Patreon.
Yes.
I've seen a few different projects on Patreon. I've not. You're the only band I've ever seen there. I know there's probably a lot more, but you can talk about maybe like what it is and what it can do for you.
Yeah. I absolutely love Patreon. And if you want to, while you're watching this online, open up a new tab, go to patreon.com/Lords of the Trident and check it out. It's essentially like an everlasting Kickstarter. So when bands are coming out with something, when you make like a thing, like an album, Kickstarter's great because the thing is coming out and you've got a lot of expenses around the thing, and then the thing's out and you've made $6,000 and boom, you're done, and you've hopefully covered the expenses. But a band, has essentially, like living expenses. We've got expenses for insurance and gas and electricity and PR and, all sorts of different things that we'd like to save up for, but can't. And, we're obviously not getting rich over music sales.
Right.
We're holding our ground. We're making, a little bit here and there, but it's not anything like, we're not buying gold-plated, Shark Tank bars or anything like that. Yet. So Patreon kind of steps in as a middle ground where instead of pledging like $50 to a Kickstarter for like the thing and the shirt and the blah, you pledge like $5 a month to like a creator that you want to support, And so the idea is that if you get enough people pledging $1, $3, $5, $10, $20 a month, you could potentially make a living doing just the thing that you're doing, just creating,
right? Something that you actually love to do.
Yeah, and then the people that pledge to that get, in return, they get prizes, they get exclusive access to things, they get maybe stuff that's Patreon only.
Yeah.
So for instance, for us, we have just a crap ton of prizes at all different sorts of levels on our Patreon, including free shirts and like exclusive merch and things like that. But we've also started, because of the support from Patreon and because of the fans on there, we started making like Patreon only exclusive content. So we do things like we have a new series that I just started up called Fang's Metal Beer Club, where we review beers. I'm a big beer nerd, so
nice.
I bring people in, bring some of the fans in, and we review beers together. The Patreon has allowed us to do things like the Trident cast. We do once a month. We have like a sit down video podcast right here, actually, complete with the green screen wall, and we project videos and we talk about what we've been up to the last month, and a lot of other fun stuff. So I really like Patreon because it's a positive feedback loop.
Right.
People. What I've learned from being a patron of other projects, from pledging to other projects, is that, like, man, I don't care what I get in return. I just, there's some people that I love to support, and I want to support them, essentially. And so sending them $10 a month is like, what is that out of my pocket? It's like nothing, But to them, if they get 1,000 people sending them $10 a month, then they're set. I
Right.
mean, they can do way more. And hey, Michi, and then my cat just ran into the frame. So, so that's the general idea. It's this positive feedback loop where people send us money because they want to see us succeed, and then when I get that money every month, I feel guilty. And then I'm like, oh shit, what have I done for them lately? I need to do something for them now. And then I get guilty and I start making more, and I make more things like the Trident cast, the Fangs Metal Beer Club. We do, for Patreon people, we do bootlegs, official bootlegs, where we've made a live recording box. We take it to shows, we plug it into the board, we do multi-track recording.
Nice.
I mix and master it. We also send out acoustic covers of songs as Patreon only. So we do, once a month we send out an acoustic, like a fully mixed, fully mastered, fully recorded, acoustic cover of a song, and that's that goes to everybody at every level. And so it's like this positive feedback loop. So because of Patreon, we've done the Trident cast, the live bootlegs, the acoustic stuff, the Fangs Metal Beer Club, the shirts. So it makes me guilty because I get this money, and then I make more, and then people pledge more because they're like, "Oh my god, I'm getting a shirt and a CD and a blah 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 and blah,"
Right, right.
And then more people pledge, and then I get more money, and I feel even more guilty, and then I make even more stuff, and so it just keeps going. So it's a snowball effect. So I absolutely love Patreon, and we are 3 people away from 100 backers.
Nice.
So right now we're at 97 backers on Patreon. So
I'll add myself as number 98. yeah, I'm sure we'll
yeah.
So
even a buck. I mean, even a buck helps. A month helps a ton. Just a ton.
So one thing I don't know if it's on the Patreon things, I haven't looked at yet, but what's something that's tempting?
Yeah.
If you included some of this as a monthly thing somehow,
I would love.
I think you get some subscribers if you put like a case of that.
Honestly, I would love to do that. I would love to do that, and I'd actually love to do that as like when we do a Kickstarter for the new album. I'd love to do that as like a Kickstarter reward. The problem is that the legality of it is really difficult.
Can't do alcohol on that.
I'm just gonna send alcohol to somebody. It's like, ugh, that's tough. That's rough, man. So
gift certificates.
Right. Yeah, we have talked about
pick up some man with power.
Yeah. So I love Patreon. I couldn't recommend getting on Patreon enough to any other band out there. It doesn't matter what level your band's at, and it doesn't matter what you want to create. Just start up a Patreon. The cool thing about Patreon versus Kickstarter is there's no end date to the Patreon. Like, it just exists. Sure. So if somebody's like, oh my god, I just saw Lords of Trident, they're my new favorite band. Even if you don't have any rewards on your Patreon, maybe they just want to give you $5 a month,
right?
And that's $5 a month more than you would have had if you didn't have the Patreon,
right?
So I can't recommend it enough.
And another thing I like about it that's kind of cool is you can actually cancel at any time. So
So
if you decide to stop making stuff and people get ticked off, you just cancel.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's some satisfaction of canceling something, just like
right.
I was talking on Facebook, satisfaction of unfriending somebody.
and that's the other thing. It's like I live in fear of people like unsubscribing from my Patreon, so I have to make more stuff. So that's another one of the positive feedback loops. So, guilt and fear.
Right.
That's what Patreon's all about.
Well, there's a lot of talk too about a lot of bands are looking for ways to get their stuff out without using Facebook. Because Facebook gets so annoying, they put limitations they charge. Mm-hmm. And this is a way for them to do whatever they want and reach as many people who want to connect with them for free. They know who want to connect with them.
Yeah.
And, eventually, through websites and this, pretty much you could just live without having to deal with Facebook.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
I still think social media and Facebook and Twitter is a very, very, very important for, and almost essential for any artist out there. But I know, I feel, when people say, I hate using Facebook, I feel you.
Yeah.
I understand. I completely get it. And I think that, eventually you're going to get to the point where, eventually you can get to a point where you're well known enough that you can survive off of a Patreon. And then at that point, maybe you stop using Facebook. Until then, you kind of have to, shotgun approach it. You got to be everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, I'm running out of questions.
Well, we can talk about the new album if you want.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
we've got.
I was thinking we touched about that a little bit before, but that was before the camera was rolling, I think.
Yeah. So we just finished a new album. We've been writing it for a year and a half or so, and we recorded it. We started recording November 1st, and we finished recording March 1st. So it was about 4 months of recording. And I personally spent bare minimum every night about 4.5 hours.
Wow.
And that was like minimum on the recording. So it was probably over 100 hours a month, just recording, editing, doing all that sort of stuff. And that's just for the recording part. Now it's off to the mixing agent, and then it'll be mastered. So we will have it done this year, and it will come out this year. We're currently in talks with a PR company out of Canada that comes really highly recommended by a bunch of our friends, Psychostick included,
Yes.
to help us do PR for that. And right now we are currently working on 5 music videos for the album. We do all of our music videos ourselves.
Right.
We do pretty much everything that we can do ourselves. We do. So we shoot and edit and do all the effects work for all of our videos ourselves. And